Welcome back to Let's Have It Out. I'm Katura Mkumba. Tabiso, let's say a couple of comments from social media. We have the first one here from Tabane 65023095, and it says this issue is beyond people's control. Government should just come up with a measure to regulate for the sake of the economy. And then we also got at Midatos, who says, I don't think you have to, but then you have absolutely no right to complain when the world moves ahead without you. Let's take a caller, and we have Jabulani from Johannesburg. Jabulani, what's your view?
Good evening, and good evening, and thanks for having me. I think what I'm just raising, there's a question that is actually raised from education perspective. So currently we've got like schools that have been built. I mean, MEC, there's a school that actually introduced that is called the full capabilities of having the technology that supports the FIR. But the question is, do our current teachers have the understanding and the knowledge in terms of how to actually utilize this functionality, in terms of actually teaching the pupils how to go about navigating in terms of the knowledge that needs to be used? That is number one. Currently in our corporate world, I'm currently in the IT section, but now we're then being moved into the approach of FIR. So there are lessons that are being learned from LinkedIn, which are being YouTubed. So those there could be the lessons that could be actually used in classes, where a teacher would just play from the YouTube or from write through a code, and then from the teacher just listen to opening up to the pupils, and then once the pupils have actually listened and plug and play, ask the question and see whether they've understood. So the question is the government in support of what is currently happening there? And if they are in support, they need to be actually opening accounts that would actually enable the teachers and the pupils to be able to use the little that we have to prepare them for the future. That's basically my comment.
Let's continue with our conversation. My guest tonight is Tumelo Sekatso from Deloitte. She is the Director of Future Work. Some interesting views and observations there, the conversations that are happening with the stakeholders. I think the question around the readiness of the teachers to provide this education and to utilize this technology that is being provided in certain schools. Our teachers there, in the conversation that we have?
Again, it differs, looking at, the broad type of schools that we have. Some other schools are really there, they're trying, but also there's schools that don't have those facilities to upskill their teachers. So this is where, again, from a bigger ecosystem, the government looks at ways to empower the teachers, ways to improve, how teachers engage with their learners now based on the technology and the digital literacy. But taking into account that you don't want also to create the inequities in the system and inequalities, take into account the history of our country, whereby there are schools in the rural areas, there are schools whereby it's on the other side where they can be able to do such. So it also takes into account to say we need the whole ecosystem such that we don't have situations where inequities and inequalities are created again. Hence the dialogues, to say how do we make sure that this works in a way that it doesn't create inequities or inequalities. Hence the dialogues to say, let's bring the education sector together, be it private, be it public, be it from anywhere, to come and really assist in addressing this. So it's a bigger societal issue. It's not a one-stop, upskill or train, because you need to also take into account all those other factors like your infrastructure in rural areas, broadband, technology, and like the caller have said, rightfully, the upskilling of the teachers themselves. Yeah. So there's a whole lot of things that needs to be taken into account when you talk about education. and education, moreover, focusing on the digital literacy and the emerging technologies that can be used in order to teach the students.
So I mean, still talking about the classroom situation, the teachers, and the education system. So I'm going through a basic education system now. I'm watching this show. I'm hearing everybody talking about the fourth industrial revolution, and I'm concerned about which careers should I be looking at, which subjects should I be focusing on, choosing, so that I'm able to find work when I do finish my studies, or if I don't find work, I'm able to use my knowledge that I've gained from the schooling system to start a business that can enable me to find space in this future economy driven by 4IR.
What we are seeing as a trend that's brought by the fourth IR itself is that there's an emerging trend in terms of data-driven and machine-driven work, and also coupled with human intervention. As a result, it's redefining work from a perspective of creative thinking skills, problem-solving skills, data analysis skills, but also from a technical perspective, we're seeing also more, because of the emerging technologies, the technical skills that are required on top of your foundational literacy and numeracy skills. So your foundational numeracy and literacy skills, yes, are required, but we're seeing more and more of problem-solving skills, analytical skills, creative and innovative skills, for especially, like you're saying, for entrepreneurship. Yeah. So looking in terms of, what the artistic skills that wouldn't people look at in terms of creative thinking, they're becoming more and more important. And the emotional intelligence aspect of it, where now people have to be able to analyze problems, things of problems, the things that the robots and the machines cannot do. People have got opportunity in such careers.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, with the upside of this fourth industrial revolution, surely there are also the downside of it. What would you say are the downside that comes with fourth industrial revolution for us as society?
As a society, and I'll take, for example, from the dialogues that have been had with the industries, the first downside that most of the stakeholders would say is the loss of jobs when you look in terms of work. But also what it does do is not also to be cautious of the ethical considerations also that are brought forth by 4IR and what it means for us as a society. And the third one that has been also in coming forth in the dialogues is to say we don't perpetuate the inequalities and inequities that we have seen in our society because of some people have got access, some people don't have access. So we just need, as the whole ecosystem, to ensure that as we look at how to maximize and leverage of these emerging technologies and the 4IR, that we create equalities, that we create a society where everybody can be able to use these equally and access is there for people equally, and making sure that where jobs are impacted, how do we minimize the impact for those who experience job loss.
Okay. We take an ad break now. We do take more of your calls and comments after the break. When we come back, we look at the opportunities, the upside of things.